In 1960, an engineer filmed something in Loch Ness for 4 full minutes. The footage was analyzed by the British Royal Air Force. Their conclusion: probably a large, living object. But the truly shocking part was what that film revealed 60 years later. When Timothy Kenneth Dinsdale arrived at Loch Ness in April 1960, he was a skeptic. He was an aeronautical engineer, a man who believed in data, not legends. He trusted evidence, not stories. At 36 years old, he lived a quiet life in reading with his wife and 4 children. But a book he'd read the previous year had changed everything more than a legend by Constance White. The book compiled eyewitness accounts of the Loch Ness monster. As Dinsdale read them, his analytical mind started working. These people weren't liars. Most were respectable, credible individuals, people who had reputations to lose. So Dinsdale made a decision. He would go. He would see for himself. In April 1960, he arrived at Loch Ness. The first few days were uneventful. Cold winds, choppy water, nothing unusual. But Dinsdale was patient. Every morning, he woke up early, drove to the lakeshore, and set up his 16mm Bolox camera on the passenger seat of his car, ready for anything. April 23, 1962, 8:50 a.m. Dinsdale was near 4 on the southern side of the lake, scanning the opposite shore through his binoculars. That's when he saw it. Something reddish, brown, motionless, just above the surface of the water. It rose 2 or 3 feet above the waves, 5 or 6 feet across. It didn't look like a boat. It didn't resemble any known animal. At that moment, everything changed. Dinsdale dropped his binoculars and grabbed his camera. With steady hands and calm focus, he began filming. The object started to move slowly, gliding across the surface, leaving a wide, shimmering wake. There was no engine noise, no visible propulsion, just silent, deliberate movement. He filmed for 4 minutes straight. The object turned slightly, zigzagged, and then began to sink. The ripples widened. The object disappeared. Dinsdale's heart was racing, but his mind stayed sharp. What had he seen? He wasn't sure, but he had it on film. Evidence proof. Back in reading, he developed the footage. The result was astonishing. It wasn't crystal clear, but something large was moving through the water, leaving a distinct wake. It demanded an explanation. Dinsdale sent the film to experts. The Royal Air Force Joint Air Reconnaissance Intelligence Center analyzed it. Their conclusions stunned everyone. Probably an animate object of large dimensions. A formal evaluation from an official institution. This wasn't a hoax. It was serious. But the most shocking revelation came years later. Experts reanalyzed the film and noticed a key detail. Dinsdale had filmed from inside his car, through the windshield. The glass acted as a secondary lens, slightly distorting and blurring the image. It explained the film's quality, but also raised a haunting question. What would we have seen if there had been no glass in the way? Hold that thought, because what came next defined the rest of his life. After 1960, Dinsdale devoted himself entirely to Loch Ness. He returned over 50 times, spending thousands of hours observing, filming, and waiting. He never captured anything as striking as that first film. But he never lost faith. When he died in 1987, he still believed there was something in the lake. He was sure of it. So what exactly had Dinsdale filmed? Skeptics offered theories. Some said it was a boat, maybe drifting silently with its engine off. But Dinsdale knew boats. This was different. Its motion wasn't mechanical, it was organic. Others said it might have been floating debris. But debris doesn't change direction. It doesn't move with purpose. Could it have been an animal, a seal, a dolphin, a large fish? Perhaps, but Loch Ness is freshwater. Seals are rare visitors. Dolphins, never. And what kind of fish rises several feet above the surface? You haven't seen the biggest surprise yet. In 1972, Robert Rines arrived, an American lawyer and inventor with serious funding and advanced technology. He brought sonar systems, underwater cameras, and computerized image analysis. With his team from the Academy of Applied Science, he began scanning Loch Ness. In August 1972, they found something. Sonar readings showed large moving objects. Underwater cameras were triggered. One image made history, the now famous flipper photograph. It appeared to show a flipper-shaped structure, about 5 to 6 feet long, seemingly belonging to a massive creature. But what kind of creature? A plesiot. Those had been extinct for 65 million years. Or was it something else, an unknown species? Rines presented the image to the scientific community. The reaction was mixed. Some scientists were intrigued. Most were skeptical. The photo was too blurry. It could have been underwater plants, a fish, or just light distortion. Nothing definitive. In 1975, Rines returned, this time with better equipment. Stronger sonar, improved cameras, and this time he captured something even more astonishing. A shadowy silhouette with a long neck and small head, eerily resembling a plesiosaur. Rines was ecstatic. He even proposed a scientific name for the creature, Nessoterus rhomboteryx, the Ness creature with diamond-shaped fins. Some scientists took it seriously, most did not. To name a species, you need physical proof, a specimen, DNA, anatomical detail. None existed, only blurry photographs. Then came a strange twist. someone discovered that Nessoteris rhombopteryx is an anagram for monster hoax by Sir Peter S. coincidence, or an intentional joke. Rhines denied it, but the doubt lingered. By 1987, technology had advanced. It was time for the most ambitious search in history, Operation Deep Scan. 24 boats lined up and swept the entire lake, using the most advanced sonar technology available. Their goal: scan every inch of Loch Ness. If something big was there, they would find it. The result: disappointment. Some curious sonar returns suggested large objects, but nothing conclusive. They might have been rocks, sunken boats, or large schools of fish. No proof of a monster. In 2003, the BBC conducted a full-scale scientific investigation. 600 sonar beams, satellite navigation, digital mapping, the most thorough study ever done. The conclusion was final: no large unknown creature exists in Loch Ness. But was that really the end? Not quite. In 2007, a man named Gordon Holmes filmed a dark, fast-moving shape in the water about 50 feet long. Experts reviewed the footage. It wasn't a hoax, but what it showed remained uncertain. In 2011, tourboat captain George Edwards photographed a dark, hump-like object on the surface. After 26 years on the lake, he swore he'd never seen anything like it. The photo was analyzed, no signs of editing yet. Its identity remained unknown. And then came 2018, perhaps the biggest revelation of all. Scientists tried a new approach: environmental DNA analysis. Every living organism leaves genetic traces in its habitat. Researchers collected 250 water samples from Loch Ness and analyzed them in the lab. The results: eel DNA, mackerel, salmon, char, bird DNA, gulls, ducks, mammal DNA, likely deer and sheep drinking from the lake, bacteria, algae, microorganisms, but no traces of any large unknown animal. One finding stood out: massive amounts of eel DNA. Professor Neil Jetmel, who led the study, proposed a theory: maybe people are seeing giant eels. European eels normally grow about 1 meter long, but in rare cases, they can reach 2 or 3 meters. In dark water, such a creature could easily look like a monster. A logical explanation, maybe, but it didn't account for every sighting. Like the 1952 Greta Finley case. August 20, 1952, Mrs. Greta Finley and her 13-year-old son Harry were sitting outside their caravan near Old Pier on a calm Scottish summer day. Harry was fishing when he heard a splash. He looked up and froze. Just 20 meters away, something enormous rose from the water. A long neck, a small head, 2 strange protrusions on top, reddish-brown skin, glistening and wet. Harry screamed. His mother ran over. Both saw it, not for seconds, but minutes. The creature was still. Then it moved slowly, turned, and sank, silently, gracefully, back beneath the water. Harry ran for his camera, but it was too late. The creature was gone. The image, however, burned into their memories. Mrs. Finley was terrified. Harry was so shaken that he never went fishing again and never returned to the lake. This sighting stands out because 2 people saw it, because it happened so close, because it lasted several minutes, and because the psychological impact was real. An undeniable fear, a lasting trauma was real. So what did the skeptics say? They saw a deer. Deer can swim. From a distance, under the right light, it could look like a monster. But there's a problem with that theory. Researcher Roland Watson checked the depth of the water at that exact spot. Historical measurements from 1903 showed it was 22 feet deep, about 7 meters. No deer could stand there. And deer don't sink, they swim. They either make it to shore or keep floating, but they don't submerge. What the Finleys saw sank slowly, deliberately, in a controlled way. It wasn't a deer, so what could it have been? A giant eel. But eels don't have necks. They don't have small heads or strange bumps on top. The description doesn't match. Some other animal. Then, but what kind? Loch Ness is a freshwater lake. There are no large animals living there. The biggest fish are salmon or char, maybe 6 feet long at most. What the Finleys described was much larger. In 2020, something remarkable happened. Researcher Roland Watson found an elderly Harry Finley. He was in his 80s, living in Perth. Watson interviewed him. 68 years had passed, yet the story hadn't changed. "I saw it," Harry said. "I don't know what it was, but I saw it. I can't forget it." That honesty says a lot. If Harry had wanted to be famous, he could have exaggerated. He could have said, "It was definitely the monster," but he didn't. He said, "I don't know what it was, but it was extraordinary." So what's the conclusion? For over 90 years, people have seen strange things on Loch Ness. Thousands of eyewitnesses, hundreds of photos, dozens of videos, yet no conclusive proof. DNA analysis found nothing. Massive sonar scans found nothing. Modern technology found nothing. There are 2 possibilities. The first, there's nothing there. All the sightings are misinterpretations, illusions, or in some cases, deliberate hoaxes. People see waves, logs, boats, animals, and their minds turn them into monsters. It's called pareidolia, the human brain's tendency to find meaning in randomness. We see faces in clouds. We see monsters in Loch Ness. The second possibility, there is something there but it's rarely seen. It lives deep below, maybe in underwater caves or unexplored tunnels. Maybe it spends most of its life on the lakebed, surfacing only on rare occasions. The DNA sampling might have missed it because the coverage wasn't wide enough. The sonar scans might have missed it because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Which theory makes more sense? Honestly, the first one. Science supports it. There's no hard evidence, no DNA, no clear photo, but that doesn't make it impossible. Science can be wrong. History proves it. The coelacanth, thought to have gone extinct 65 million years ago, was found alive in 1938. The giant squid was once a sailor's myth until it was caught on camera. The Komodo dragon was dismissed as superstition until it was discovered. Maybe Loch Ness is another one of those cases. Maybe one day, real proof will emerge. A body, a clear photograph, undeniable evidence. If that day comes, science books will be rewritten. Skeptics will apologize. Believers will smile and say, "Told you so." But if that day never comes, then the legend will live on, and that's not a bad thing. Legends matter. They feed our imagination. They keep curiosity alive. They inspire exploration. Loch Ness isn't just a monster story, it's a mirror of human nature. Our hunger for the unknown, our love of mystery, our hope that not everything can be explained. In a world where everything is measured, analyzed, and categorized, Loch Ness remains a question mark, and that's beautiful. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people visit Loch Ness. Most don't expect to see a monster, but they all carry a tiny spark of hope. What if I do? They think. What if I'm the lucky one? That hope is priceless. That's what makes life interesting. Possibilities, surprises, the unexpected. Tim Dinsdale filmed something in 1960. He never knew exactly what it was, but he knew it was extraordinary. He devoted the rest of his life to finding the truth. Was he crazy? No, he was passionate, a believer. And the world needs more people like Dinsdale, seekers, questioners, dreamers who chase the impossible. Greta Finley and her son, Harry, saw something in 1952. They never learned what it was, but they never forgot it. Even 68 years later, the memory remained clear. That's the power of truth. False memories fade, real ones don't. The Finley story endured. Robert Rines spent years and millions of dollars searching Loch Ness. He never found conclusive proof, but he never gave up. When he died in 2009, he still believed. Was he disappointed? Maybe, but was he regretful? Never, because the search itself was meaningful. The pursuit was the reward. Interestingly, Loch Ness isn't alone. Similar lake monster legends exist all over the world. Ogopogo in Canada, Storrs Jojuret in Sweden, IC in Japan. Every continent, every culture, has its own version of a water creature. Coincidence, or a shared human fear of what lies beneath? Anthropologists suggest an evolutionary explanation. Humans have always viewed water as both a source of life and a source of danger. Deep, dark, unseen depths trigger primal fears. Those fears become myths. Psychologists offer another angle. Cryptozoology, the study of unknown creatures, reflects our need for mystery in a world that feels too explained. We crave the wild, the untamed, the unknown. The Loch Ness monster symbolizes that longing. Sociologists point to economics. Loch Ness tourism brings Scotland around £80 million per year. It supports thousands of jobs and keeps the local economy alive. Does that explain why the legend persists? Maybe partly, but not entirely, because the stories existed long before the tourism. Historians look deeper. In Celtic mythology, water spirits held great importance. That Kelpie, a shape-shifting water horse, was said to lure travelers to their doom. Each Wisg, another aquatic creature, was even more dangerous. These stories go back centuries. Maybe the Loch Ness monster is just a modern echo of those ancient myths. Cryptozoologists, meanwhile, see Loch Ness as a scientific mystery. No, they say, there's probably no living plesiosaur, but maybe there's an undiscovered species, a massive eel, a giant fish, or some unknown reptile. Is it possible? Science says very unlikely, but not impossible. And that small difference matters, because throughout history, many things once labeled impossible turned out to be real. In the 1800s, mountain gorillas were myth. By 1902, they were fact. Giant pandas were a legend. Found in 1869, deep-sea giants once dismissed as fantasy are now documented reality. So science doesn't completely close the door. It leaves a tiny crack, and believers cling to it. See, they say, it's not certain. There's still a chance. In 2019, researchers studying Loch Ness's geology discovered something fascinating. Complex underwater structures, deep trenches, narrow channels, perhaps even caves. Sonar can't fully penetrate those zones. Too deep, too intricate. Could something be hiding there? Theoretically, maybe. Practically, it's doubtful. A creature can't just hide. It must eat, breathe, reproduce. Does Loch Ness have enough food? Experts say no. The lake holds about 20 tons of fish biomass, not nearly enough to sustain multiple giant predators. And even if a breeding population existed, we'd see them more often. So the questions remain and science stays cautious. But that doesn't end the story, because Loch Ness isn't just about evidence, it's about belief, curiosity, and imagination. And perhaps the most important question is this: if tomorrow we proved beyond doubt that there is no monster in Loch Ness, what then? Would people be disappointed? Probably. Would the legend die? Maybe, but its legacy would live on, because Loch Ness reminds us that curiosity is beautiful, that asking questions matters, that seeking the unknown gives life meaning. So, does the Loch Ness monster exist? Probably not. That's what science says. That's what logic says. But can we be 100% certain? No. And that tiny uncertainty, that flicker of possibility, is what keeps the legend alive. Maybe the real value isn't in finding the answer, but in continuing to ask the question, to wonder, to dream. Loch Ness teaches us that the world still holds mysteries, and maybe some of them should stay that way. What do you think? Is there something in Loch Ness, or is it all imagination? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you love the world's mysteries, unexplained phenomena, and strange true stories, don't forget to subscribe, because every week we explore a new mystery. See you in the next video.